All right, everybody, welcome to the long-awaited Megadeth album ranking. It's been quite the long journey. There's been some ups and downs here with, getting all this stuff out. I meant to get this out a week or so ago, but, college stuff got it crazy in the way, kind of trying to finish up the semester strong here and everything. So, busy time of year for sure, but we've got it going here. I'm also going to announce the next album review. It'll just be a one, and then we'll include it into do a re-ranking of a band because it's something I'm going to add into another discography. But we'll get to that at the end. And we've got 17 albums here. You guys have journeyed along here with us throughout this thing, so let's get it going. And if you've been following along, it should be no surprise that number 17 is The World Needs a Hero from 2001. This album is something that I honestly just cannot stand. The songs on here, I think there's maybe one decent song. And it's not even one that I like, not all that much. Dread and the Fugitive Mind, that one's okay. There's a lot of these weird kind of spoken word parts kind of going on throughout this album. And just a really, it's such a bummer because you got Al Pitrelli on this thing. And before I ever listened to this thing, I was thinking, man, that's an interesting combination. But, it fell really, really flat. Just feels really uninspired. Such a disappointment. One of my least favorite albums of the big four of thrash altogether. Definitely not a fan of The World Needs a Hero. Even Motorcycle is a dumb song, I think. Disconnect. Just these tracks they're very forgettable. And then I went into it with an open mind thinking I might end up liking it on this last listen and did not disliked it just as much as I did the first time. So, number 17, we're looking at The World Needs a Hero. Then we're going to look at Super Collider at number 16 here. And, this album does get a lot of hate. I don't think this is a terrible album. Quite like people say. It's different. But I think there's some solid tracks off here like Beginning of Sorrow, Dance in the Rain, Forget to Remember. I even like the title track, Super Collider. So, and again, it is different. It's got kind of a different feel to it. The songwriting isn't it's not necessarily as thrashy as a lot of these other albums. Especially after this, where they kind of went back to their roots, but and people were craving for them to go back to their roots. But they throughout this kind of experiment here, and I think it turned out okay. I liked this album a lot better than I did the first time I ever heard it on this listen, and I've heard it a few times, but it was always one of the ones I kind of stayed away from. But on this recent listen, I was like, that's not as bad. There's some pretty decent kind of hooky tunes on here, but decent little album. Nothing to write home about. So number 15, we've got Endgame. And this one is kind of it's fallen down a little bit for me over the years. It's also just kind of a decent album for me. I think it's heavy and thrashy and everything. I like the tracks. 44 minutes. This Day We Fight's good. I like the hardest part of Letting Go. Seal with a Kiss is good. Head Crusher. There's some decent tracks on here, but where a lot of people call it the second Rust in Peace and everything, I'm like, whoa, slow it down a little bit, because that just kind of shocks me. But and really anymore you don't see that as much. Mainly people give that honor to Dystopia, but this album I think the reasoning behind that was this album was a breath of fresh air from a lot of the different stuff that was going on, the experimenting and stuff like that. They really kind of went for a thrashier record here, but I just don't think a lot of the songs stand out and are quite as strong as the following, albums coming up in this list here. So, number 15, that is Endgame. And this might be controversial or whatever here at number 14, but it is what it is. We're talking about So Far, So Good. I'm sorry. Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good, the debut album. And I think this is it's a solid debut. It's really, really raw, and the production's raw and shitty, but in a good way, kind of, that feels, makes the thing really feel aggressive and everything. But a lot of the songs just don't quite stand out as much. I think the band, they were in their infancy here. Um, I mean, I like the title track, of course. I really like Mechanics is awesome, probably the best song. Looking Down the Cross ends up being one of my favorites. Upon this, most recent re-listen to this thing, I even kind of like These Boots cover. It's kind of fun, but it's really, just a really early feel of what the band would become. But it's definitely a fun listen and has its place in both Megadeth history, thrash metal history, just metal history in general. And I think it's a solid album. But again, that might be controversial to throw the first one down this low, but there's just stuff I like quite a bit better than it. All right, so 17, 16, 15. That was 14. We're looking at 13 now with the EP, Hidden Treasures. And for being a little, EP here with which it's got 8 songs, good little package deal here. It's got some awesome stuff on it. I mean, you've got the 2 soundtrack songs, Go to Hell and, Angry Again, and 99 Ways to Die. There was, I'm pretty sure there was another one off here that was soundtrack. Well, another one of these, I'm pretty sure. Go to Hell, I think, was also on a soundtrack for Last Action Hero. But, 99 Ways to Die is off the Beavis and Butthead Do America soundtrack. And you got a really cool song, Diadems. You got a No More Mr. Nice Guy cover, Paranoid cover. There's just some really cool stuff on here. And it's just a fun listen all throughout. Megadeth tends to do covers pretty damn well, as this is evidence of it here. And but to me, just having those soundtrack songs on here that were already just such strong songs in their own right, package deal, all these things on this EP here with Hidden Treasures, and you've got a pretty awesome album here, no doubt about it. All right, so now get that set up. We'll go with number 12 here. Another controversial take here, I'm sure, because I do love this album. But number 12, we're looking at Peace Sells, But Who's Buying? Love this album. It is heavy as all get out. I mean, you open her up with Wake Up Dead. You've got The Devil's Island, The Conjuring. Peace Sells is one of the first few Megadeth songs I ever heard, right? Good Morning Black Friday. Just awesome stuff. I think this is a side one heavy album. I mean, don't get me wrong, and My Last Words and Bad Omen and that cover, I Ain't Superstitious, aren't bad by any means, but the side one is where it really just kicks you in the ass and really gets its thing going. And it's an amazing album. I like the production on this thing. I love just the feel of this album overall, and the songwriting is great. This is an amazing follow-up. It's like, the distance from this one and their first album to me is, on as far as the ranking goes, not far, but in quality, I think this was quite a bit better than their first album. So Peace Sells, But Who's Buying? Again, I know that's going to be controversial as all hell. This is going to be just a controversial list, but hey, this is just how I'm feeling at this moment. This stuff changes all the time and everything, and everybody's got their own opinions on this. But Peace Sells, But Who's Buying is going right here. And then we're going to go with number 11, being So Far, So Good, So What. This album has only continued to grow on me over the years. I love the production on this one. Jeff Young's guitar playing is very unique and it is awesome on this album. This has one of my favorite Megadeth songs, period, on it with In My Darkest Hour. I love Hook and Mouth. The Anarchy in the UK cover's good. Again, they've proven they can do covers well. Set the World Afire, and just such an awesome album from start to finish. It's kind of a shorter one, really, so at least it kind of seems like it. But it's just got this very dark feel to it. And just, again, the guitar playing of Jeff Young stands out as particularly awesome on this thing. And really is an interesting dynamic, and it kind of makes you wonder where they could have, if he would have stayed with the band, if they could have, dropped some other awesome albums with him on it. But yeah, it's such a great album. I would assume this album's probably going to rise even higher over the years for me, as I do just love this thing, and it only the love for it only grows more and more, for sure. So that's number 11 there. Number 10 coming up here. I'm going to go with Dystopia. And I love this album. Don't get me wrong. That's where it's really hard. Most of these albums I just freaking love. And Dystopia is one of those. I know I've seen people say this is their best album they've ever done. And and this discography is so strong that I understand where they're coming from. It's got an awesome concept going on, that futuristic dystopian feel. I love the tracks. I love Bullet to the Brain, Post American World, Poisonous Shadows, Lying in State. I mean, come on, man. I mean, this thing's awesome. The Threat is Real. Amazing, amazing stuff, and a great return to form for the band, for sure, especially after coming off something like Super Collider that was kind of, different, controversial and everything. But or really, they had, I'm getting the timeline mixed up here because they had, 13 after that. But anyways, just an incredible, incredible album. But it really kind of kick-started just like them being like, hey, we're just back to thrash. We're done, screwing around. This is what we're going to do. And Dystopia, again, just an amazing album. I understand if people put it high up, but I'm going to throw it right here at number 10. And with number 9, I'm going to go with United Abominations, an album that I used to not rank this high. I used to rank it rather low and used to, kind of... the stuff I remembered was stuff I just... I kind of focused on this cover of Tout le Monde, which is not that bad or whatever. When I say cover of it, I mean really re-recorded version with Amy Lee singing on there with him, and it's okay or whatever. I just prefer the original version, and I kind of just let that take the forefront. But listen to back this album, you've got Sleepwalker, Washington Is Next, Gears of War, Play for Blood is just top stuff right there. You're Dead, Burnt Ice, just amazing album. I think that also is one that I could definitely see in the future going up higher and higher in the rankings for me. That just proves to you yet again, I always say it, you revisit this stuff and you're gonna rediscover songs that you maybe forgot about, and you're just gonna end up. But it's kind of like listening to a new album sometimes if you've not heard it for a long time and forgot some of the tracks on there. And that was kind of the case here, because this is another one that I kind of avoided over the years. I've heard it a couple times or whatever, but this last listen I was like, man, this thing really just hit. So awesome album with United Abominations. Let me get back situated here. Okay, I think that was number 9. I may have called it number 10. Stuff just kind of gets scrambled here. Let's see, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. Okay, so now we're at number 8. I may have said that wrong a while ago, but here's where we are with number 8. And this is going to shock people. This album gets a lot of hate, but it's Risk, and I freaking love this album. I make no apologies for it. This album, I've actually liked it from the first time I heard it. I thought it was very different, very unique. I think it's got really solid production, and it stands out in their discography for me. It especially when you're going through the discography all the way through, you get to this album that's quite a bit different. Everything, it's like, man, this is like refreshing, right? And you have Insomnia on here. Breadline is just amazing stuff. I love Wanderlust is freaking fantastic. I'll Be There. You've got Time the Beginning, Time the End, that cool thing, 7. Prince of Darkness is awesome. I mean, this is an awesome album, man. And I know a lot of people, they shit on it hardcore, or would maybe just be like, I'm turning the video off. This guy put this at number 8. That's whatever, man. But everybody's got an opinion on it. That's what makes it so fun. We see where each other where our heads are at with this sort of thing. So, and mine is putting this right here at number 8, and I know that is so shocking to people or whatever, and I'm not trying to do it for shock value or controversy, but that's just truly how I feel. I've always loved Risk, and I think it's just a unique album and a very fun, unique listen that stands out to me for sure. So, number 8, we're looking at Risk. So number 7, we're looking at, I almost called it Trust just now, but Cryptic Writings. Kind of similar to Risk in the regard that it's different, more like kind of hookier, almost pop choruses, that really try to reel you in and everything. And I just really think they do it better here than even Risk. You got the song Trust, Almost Honest, Use the Man, Disintegrators, I'll Get Even, Sin. I mean, come on, She Wolf. These Secret Place. I mean, come on, dude. That song's probably the best off here. And just an amazing album that also is one I've always loved, despite it being a little different. And maybe some people kind of thinking this is like their Load or whatever, where they kind of change things up, kind of like Metallica did, which, of course, I love that album as well. But this album to me is freaking great. It's also a refreshing listen when you're listening through them all the way through. And is one I've always often come back to. And I think Trust is just a great, great listen. No doubt about it. All right. Number 6 here. We're going to go with 13. This is another album that gets a lot of hate here. And I've heard people say it's like a bunch of stuff they kind of grabbed from other sessions and put together. Hey, if that's what they did, that's what they did, because I love Sudden Death, Public Enemy #1, Whose Life Is It Anyways? Black Swan is a just top Megadeth track for me. New World Order, Deadly Nightshade, 13. I mean, this album is freaking fantastic to me. I've always loved this thing from the first moment I heard it, because I'd heard bad things about it. I'm like, well, we'll see about that. I'm curious. And I was like, man, what are people talking about? Like, this thing, I think it's a bad rap, but it's just filled with badass tracks, man. And, just the riffs on this thing, love 13. Again, I know this is another controversial pick here to be up so high, but this is an album that I've just always enjoyed. And people think that, Dystopia, which I do agree with that somewhat, that Dystopia was the more return to the thrash roots, return to form. But I think this was leading in that right direction after Super Collider. So I think that they brought back a lot. This is kind of like, it's a good in-between Super Collider and Dystopia. It really kind of is a blending of those types. So I think 13 is an awesome album. So we're at the top 5 now, people. And this is going to shock people. But we're talking about The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead. And this album, I was so hyped, man, when it was announced. And I heard that first single from, We'll Be Back. And absolutely loved it. This is a heavy freaking hitter of a record, man. You've got tracks like The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead, Life in Hell, Night Stalkers being my favorite one, Dogs of Chernobyl. I even love the fun, Mission to Mars, Soldier On. This is an awesome album that I think throughout, as time goes on, people might end up coming more around to, which I've heard, a lot of people did enjoy it and it got praised, but I've not heard anyone be kind of over the moon about it like I have been. I've loved this thing since it came out. I just jammed this thing. And on this even recent listen of it, I'm like, yeah, I definitely still have those same, feelings. It's not like a bias of it being so new and everything, and just loving it for that. Like, I still love this album enough to put it in the top 5, and I think it's just got awesome production, really just heavy, again, just a heavy album from these guys. So, and then we get to number 4. We're talking about The System Has Failed, and I've not heard a lot of people, praise this album in a way that I have either, which I've heard people like it and everything. My brother really likes this album a lot, like I do. But this album has always been just one of my favorite Megadeth albums. From the first time I ever heard, especially tracks like The Scorpion, Blackmail the Universe, Die Dead Enough, Kick the Chair, of Mice and Men. I think it's just got some riffers, some heavy hitters off here that have also some really hooky choruses in it. And it's just some, Chris Poland came back on this one and just shredded the thing to bits. Love this album. It is an iconic Megadeth album for me. One that I very, very often go back to and will continue to. And it could even climb higher. I don't really see it falling ever, but it could very well climb higher. You just never know how that thing goes. But number 3, we're gonna go with Countdown to Extinction. Come on, this is their Black album, right? If you're gonna compare the discographies to Metallica, and this album is just freaking incredible. You got Skin in My Teeth, Symphony of Destruction. You can hear it 1,000 times. It's one of those that I just don't really ever get tired of. Architecture of Aggression, Foreclosure of a Dream. Y'all know I don't really like Sweating Bullets, but the song Countdown to Extinction, Captive On, or Ashes in Your Mouth, like this is just a badass, heavy hitting heavy metal record, man. They kind of slowed things down, went more for a groove style on some of these. With like Symphony of Destruction, not as like fast and thrashy as some of their other stuff, but that wasn't a problem for me because this has just some of their best material on it. No way around it. I mean, people know how great this album is. A lot of people put it at their number 1, and I totally understand it. But for me, I'm going to throw it at number 10. But this one is one I've always loved. It has some of their best work on it, period. Now, this is where stuff gets really tough for me. But number 2 is going to have to be Euthanasia for me. This album has been my number 1 a lot before. It really bounces back, which, you can do the process of elimination, what number 1 is, but it's bounced back and forth between this one and that one. I've always had just a connection to this album. I've listened to it probably more than any of the other ones. You got Reckoning Day, Train of Consequences, Addicted to Chaos, A Tout Le Monde, The Killing Road. You've got I Thought I Knew It All. Black Curtains is such a deep cut killer track. This album is freaking fantastic. And it is less thrashy and more just like has a groove to it, hookier choruses and everything, even with the kind of heavy ballad with A Tout Le Monde or whatever. But such a fantastic album that I think a lot of people are starting to come more around to. If you like Countdown to Extinction, then you're pretty much, at least in my mind, you would think that you're going to like this one a lot too. And I think this one just does what Countdown to Extinction does even better. Marty Friedman is just going off on this thing, and just one of my favorite 90s metal records, period, for sure. It's always kind of I've had a soft spot for this one for a long time, so love it. But as you can see, number 1, I'm sorry, but not sorry. It's Rust in Peace, baby. I mean, come on. This thing is just incredible. These guys right here all got on there, made some magic, made 5 magics, even though it's 4 of them, right? But fantastic album. It's got the progginess of it with all the time changes, just the thrash. This is like Megadeth in their absolute prime peak level. I mean, Holy War's The Punishment Due is one of the greatest songs ever, man. Hangar 18, Take No Prisoners, the Psalm 5 magics, and then you got Poison Was the Cure, Lucretia, Tornado of Souls, and that crazy solo, Dawn Patrol, even though it's just like a little kind of bass thing going on. I love it. Rust in Peace, Polaris. This thing is magic front to back. One of the greatest thrash metal albums of all time. A lot of this might be cliche what I'm saying, but I'm just telling you, this album is just a 5-star greatness front to back. You want to introduce someone to thrash metal, this might be one of the ones you want to show them, because it'll take you on a damn journey, this thing, and it is one of my favorite albums of all time, no doubt about it. And again, this has been tough with this one and Euthanasia. I have soft spots for both of these albums because this was the first Megadeth album I'd ever heard on vinyl. Before I had it on vinyl, I borrowed my brother's copy, and I was like, damn, But yeah, this album, just piece of art right here. Pure greatness, no doubt about it. And you guys know it too if you're Megadeth fans. But with all that being said, guys, what we're going to be doing next, I purchased it's a Steve Vai album, which I was kind of like, man, I don't know if I'm going to include this in the rankings when it first came out, because I heard this album when it first came out. It's the Vai Gash, and I forget what the name of the actual album is, but it's a guy he knew, like a biker guy he knew, who they kind of recorded almost like a biker blues kind of hard rock album. And that album will be the next one we take a look at. And I'm going to actually implement that into the Steve Vai rankings and see where that goes. Because I initially kind of didn't do that because I'm like, well, it's Vai and Gash. But I'm like, well, this guy didn't do anything else. So, like, and unfortunately he passed away. So it's one of those things where I'm like, you know what, I might as well throw it within the within the mix of the Steve Vai albums, kind of see where it ranks there. So that's what we're going to be looking at next. And, you know, and then in that video, when we look at that, because I'll review that album, then we'll rank them, all those Steve Vai albums again, which I'm going to be kind of listening to a bunch of that stuff again too, to, you know, maybe see if I find anything new, any rediscovery of anything, and want to change some stuff around. But in that ranking video, those, we will look at, or I will announce the next, you know, full-blown discography we're going to be looking at, which, you know, if you guys are into some heavy stuff, into some death metal, then you're going to love it. So stay tuned for that. You know, I know we've looked at Carcass and Death on that heavier side of things, so we got another big heavy hitter coming up, guys. So anyways, thanks so much for watching. This has been a fun one. Love the Megadeth discography. As you can see, there was only a few that I really am not too big of a fan of. Most of them I just love and adore, and that list can swap up a lot all the time. But incredible band, incredible discography. I really want to hear what you guys have to say in the comments about this stuff and see where you guys rank things. If you want to shit on me for my kind of crazy rankings, whatever, hey, go for it. That's cool, right? Or if you want to even top me and maybe have some stuff in other crazy spots that no one would expect, please tell us, because that'd be very interesting to hear and hear why and everything, and I respect it. So definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts on that and hear and see your guys' list and rankings and why, so we can get some conversation going down there. And also, I just opened up I converted like an old Instagram account I had into an Instagram page for this YouTube channel. So I'm going to put a link to that. I'll see if I can do that, and maybe some of you guys could follow along over there. And I'm actually kind of in the process of kind of getting maybe some interviews going with some musicians. So I mean, it's, you know, I don't want to confirm anything yet or get ahead of myself before it's all set in stone. But I'm doing some work to kind of get some people on here that I'm going to talk to and everything and interview. Very exciting stuff. I'm really hoping this goes through, because it'd be pretty massive for me as a fan if that thing goes through. So we're working on it, and I'm trying to get maybe some others as well. So that's some other stuff that's, you know, kind of pending up here in this channel. So stay tuned, guys. Like, subscribe, comment, and as always, thanks so much for watching.